Oi, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? Aye, you'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Assassin's Creed 2. Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast. Hello and welcome to VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, the show where we like to find out the best game within a really specific category that we've made up to cause arguments. This week we're talking about the best game that, well, the original name for the topic was the best game that you were playing when you got your Red Ring of Death, but we're thinking of expanding that out to the best game that broke your hardware.
What?
Bricked your console.
You never told me about this expansion.
Yeah, well, I only told Ian because he was struggling a bit. I mean, Ian liked to collude a bit before he come on. The thing is, Tom, if you asked me nicely, I would collude with you a bit as well, but you didn't. You just sort of stew for a bit.
I'm always colluding with you.
Nah, it's not
this
true.
This podcast is started from colluding.
It's proof.
Do you want to explain to the audience? Public conversation me and Sharie had about how Sharie was like, I don't think I have any experiences that match this, and I said, I don't care, just lie. So it's all everyone's welcome here, right? Okay, so
do you want to explain to the audience what a red ring is?
You are sorry?
Do you want to explain to the audience what a red ring is?
Yeah, you got to remember, Jim. This was about 25 years ago.
Yeah, if they know, they know.
Yeah.
And if they don't know, they'll have an amusing time figuring it out, I'm sure.
It's nothing to do with Vindaloo's, though, right?
I was wondering who's going to be the first to do some sort of curry shit joke.
The most immature member of
surely that was the time to play the Higton sound. Sound would be
is very true, yeah. Which has become the klaxon for people to tell everyone to shut up when we move on to the next section.
You have that right in front of you.
You've just become a very integral part of this podcast, Higton, and people enjoy it when they hear your voice.
Can I get some cut of the profits?
No, there's no profit. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, I forgot
we're video game 7p. Right, okay. So you've heard the voices of Sharif Saeed, Tom Ori, and Ian Higton from Eurogamer, my collaborator on the other channel that I've been seconded to, which is also Tom Ori's fault. Everything I have to do for a living is ultimately Tom Ori's fault. I would much rather just sit and do nothing, but Tom won't let me. So right, best game that bricked your hardware, gave you a yellow light of death, red ring of death. There's lots of different versions of this.
You told me about this variety of options before.
I will even accept, Tom, if you can think quickly, I will even accept a blue screen of death if it was like a really significant one. If you've got a good story.
I can't think on the fly. I just want to give a heads up. I do have an incredible story.
Yeah.
Not related to the topic at all. But I will.
Very well.
I will tell you this story when I get to my section.
Well. But firstly, we're going to kick off with a snack check. So everyone got the snacks out, right?
What?
What the hell is this?
You didn't tell me we could bring snacks.
Yeah. We're doing a snack. Nobody else does it. It's just me. But it's a segment everyone's allowed into.
Right.
We've got flaming hot crunchy Wotsits, right? Mm-hmm. Just sort of like the flaming hot Cheetos that you get in America, but the crunchy ones.
What are those other crunchy crisps that I'm thinking of that are really hard?
Knickknacks.
No, not they're nice, but they're not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the ones that are like, I think they're bacon flavour.
Frazzles?
No. They're like tubes. This is great podcasting.
Well,
just
wheat crunchies.
This is amazing. Wheat crunchies. Are
Yeah,
they like wheat crunchies?
You are sorry?
Are those like wheat crunchies?
No, nothing like them. No.
Fair
They're
enough. I brought it up.
Like flaming hot Cheetos.
I have a question.
They're crunchy. Crunchy.
Yeah, they are crunchy. But they're the crunchy version
right
of
there.
Wots. So they're not like they're like sort of knick-knacky sort of. Right. Anyway, I've got chili and lime peanuts. Right.
Well, how many crisp type products do you need, Jim?
Well, just in case I get peckish, and if I need a protein hit in the middle of Tom's story,
you just gotta fucking eat it.
I've got a wee tin of bacon, right?
Oh my god!
Tin of bacon?
Yeah, man.
Just
Yeah, we not had a tin of bacon.
That's surely a Scottish thing. That must be a
it's not.
thing.
It's actually you're more likely to find it as in a breakfast ramen in Hong Kong. Right? You get Hong Kong breakfast ramen. It's a bowl of instant noodles Probably garnished with spring onion, but with a fried egg and some fried spam in it usually.
So, you've just blown my mind here, Jim. Are you going to, during this podcast, pry open a can of bacon spam and eat it like just...
It depends how much Tom's story makes me fall asleep. But
Okay,
this is
I kind of want to see that
here.
happen because I
Desperate measures.
Okay.
Okay. So
I have a question. Hang on.
Yeah.
Is the Walker's brand of crisps, is that related to the Walker's shortbread biscuits Scottish thing?
No.
No, totally different.
So the apostrophe
It's
is the
I'm
element.
pretty sure it's just the UK version of Lay's that you get
I know,
everywhere
it
else.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get all 3 versions of Lay's here, which I find pretty fun.
Yeah. And like if you buy like an Opel Astra, that's a Vauxhall Astra. In
Yeah, the
Britain,
Vauxhall
because
Astra,
we just love like not doing things the way the rest of the world does them. Got our own little quirky names for things. Anyway, so right, I think should we give Tom time to think of something because he's clearly stalling for.
I've got something. I've got multiple things.
You've got nothing.
I've got at least. I've got 2 plus. I've got the actual thing.
All right. Okay. Fine.
So,
well,
What is this? What is this? Some sort of weird podcast flex? Like, what is this? I've got 2. And what is this?
You were complaining 5 minutes ago.
You've got to throw in the little, it could be this, and the audience thinks it's going to be this, and it isn't.
Oh,
that's
the bait and switch.
Right.
That's a handsome voice.
Right, okay. Who should we start with then? I tell you what, let's save Higton for the end, because let's face it, everyone's here for Higton, right?
I am.
Tom. Tom, let's start with you then. If you're that confident,
I'm pretty confident.
All right, okay. What is the best game
how you judge this? I won't win.
Yeah,
it's the best. Particularly now you've expanded the criteria. It's a shoe in to win. If you're being fair,
how many cups do you have on your disc, Jim? Oh my god!
What are you drinking a minute ago? That's a different.
He was just drinking like a thing of tea, I think, and now he's like Coke.
Yes, because I want a cold drink because I want to feel refreshed, but it's quite nippy and I need a coffee. So
is the other side of this? Is the flip side of this camera some sort of like bar situation where someone is handing you drinks that we don't see?
No,
like
it's
in the
very
Fifth
full desk. I'm sure the people listening to this are loving this chat about like the cups I'm holding and shit.
This is why we shouldn't do a video version, because it encourages him to do this kind of stuff.
I've never had 2 cups of 2 different beverages on my desk at the same time. I don't think I've ever had that. That's amazing.
My worst vice is choice. I don't know what to have, so I just have everything.
Anyway, moving on. I was on holiday last week, and we did a lot of little trips to various places. One of those trips, this was all going to become relevant. You'll find out the relevance at the end of this story. Anyway, so one of the trips was a trip to the beach. Dislike the beach quite intensely, but we went to the beach. Littlehampton Beach, which is the south coast of England. Sharie, if you're wondering.
Yes, I am aware of the geography of the United Kingdom. Thank you.
Yeah. So Littlehampton is like it's not a Brighton, which is like a big, mega popular place. But the beach is better than Brighton. Brighton is all pebbles. It's a bit rubbish as beaches go. But Littlehampton has pebbles, but then the water goes out and you've got loads of sand as well, right? So it's a good beach. We went there. I was like, fine, kids like the sand. I'll just get through it, etc. We turned up and there was a massive fire, right? You could see the smoke in the sky. It was like, what is going on? We googled it. There was a big industrial fire happening down the road, and we're like, should we stay here and get the toxic fumes? Should we go to another beach further along? We stayed. We'd already parked at that point.
Who needs lungs?
It was £13.50 to park there. I was like, not doing that.
I can just imagine looking at the cloud of toxic smoke coming towards you and be like, well, we've done it now, haven't we?
Yeah, so we stayed. Anyway, we got on the beach. I was like, I'm just going to sit on this mat and hope the kids just get on with it. Eventually I thought, right, this is not making memories, is it? So I got up and we built this massive sandcastle / dog. Don't know how that worked, but it was both of those things. Anyway, at some point during the whole process, I thought I've got my phone, my wallet, and my house keys just in my shorts pocket, and it's not the safest thing to have, right? So they're going to get lost. So I zipped up the pocket, right? I zipped it up. I'm safe now. They're not going to get sand in them. They're not going to get lost in the sea, right? And then we just had a nice day on the beach, had an ice cream. I had an incredible Mr. Whippy. I mean, I'm not sure you've seen the photo. I'll share it, and you can put it in the video version if you want.
Oh, you mean the ice cream? I thought you were like, went for an ice cream and then had a poo.
No, Mr. Whippy ice cream. I'm not you, Jim. I don't describe things in that sort of juvenile way. But the machine was malfunctioning. The guy using it didn't know how to work it properly. So it ended up being this enormous sort of double height Mr. Whippy.
Right.
And it is incredible, Ian. You won't believe it when you see the photo. And everyone was staring at me like I'd won the lottery or something. And they were like, incredible, this guy's got this.
I saw the photos, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a good moment for me. Anyway, we had a long day. We were on the beach. We got home about 5:30, just time to get the kids some dinner and get to bed, etc. And then got to the front door. So I was get my key out. And the zip to my pocket in my shorts wouldn't move, right? It was shut. I couldn't get the zip open, right? And I was the only one with a house key at this point. I was like, told my wife, right, don't alarm you, but the pocket that I've got my house key in won't open, right? And she was like, don't be silly, it just opens. And she was like, look, I can't open the zip. I can't open. I was like, getting quite stressed at this point. The zip wouldn't open. Yeah, she was like, "Just give it to me. I'll sort it out." And she was having a go. Couldn't get the zip open. Just no way into the house at this point. And she was like, "All right, what can we do to get this open?" And we found like a pen in her bag. And I was trying to unpick the stitching around the zip to get into the pocket. That didn't work, obviously, because that's not the right tool for that. Still had no use. About 10 minutes had passed. And I was like, right, we've got to drive to my mum's. She have a pair of scissors, and we can just cut into the shorts to get the key. So we drove over to my mum's. She wasn't in, obviously. I didn't have the key to get into the house because it was in my shorts. So I couldn't get into the house to get a key. So we drove to a supermarket. And bought a pair of scissors from Sainsbury's. And I spent ages trying to cut carefully. My wife was not happy, as you might imagine. My kids were going, losing their shit because they wanted food, etc. So I tried to snip around the zip so I could preserve the shorts. That didn't really work. And eventually I thought, I'm just going to cut the pocket. So I took my shorts off in the car because I didn't want to do it in the street, and just cut the bottom of the pocket open. Out came the
you
keys.
went in from the inside?
Yeah, I had to.
Good.
So now we got into the house, but I have now a pair of shorts that only one pocket functions. The other one is permanently shut with a hole in the actual pocket. But anyway, that is how I broke my shorts, which leads me to the game that broke my Xbox 360 and gave it So I told you it was linked, didn't I, Jim?
Wouldn't it have been cheaper to just rip that pocket of something like an edge of something?
I didn't say
no.
I tried
like
for
cheaper
a long
than
time.
driving around and wasting all that petrol.
I tried ages to.
How expensive was that shirt? Was that some sort of like designer shorts or something?
No, of course not, Sharie. Do you think I wear designer shorts?
The way we're talking about that shorts, how try to preserve the thing, the stitching. I was like,
I'm very tight with money. All right, I spent £15 on a pair of shorts. That's a lot of money in my world to buy any clothing.
Is that not more expensive than the petrol money that you've and all the Sainsbury's and all this stuff?
How far do you think he's driving to get?
My mum lives.
I don't know what the petrol price is. That seems like
it's fine. It was a short round trip, Sharie.
He's not driving to fucking Newcastle.
The game that broke my Xbox 360, and again, I alluded to the third. I've got two choices, and they're both somewhat similar. I was reviewing the first Metro game on the Xbox 360, and it came on they delivered it on a hard drive that you had to put on top of your debug.
Oh God, I remember that.
Oh, you had a debug.
It was actual full, because the Xbox 360s had this hard drive that slotted into the top right? And if you had the core one, you didn't have that bit, I don't think. But this was the hard drive bit, and they gave you that, so you had to use that, and it was a bit weird because you kind of felt, well, they kind of know what you're doing a bit. Whatever, that's how it worked. And my 360, the debug, literally red ringed during this whole thing. It was bloody annoying because there was no other way of playing this game. The hard drive was attached to that console and blah, blah, blah. So that was a big hassle. But then another time, I was meant to be doing Bioshock 2 on the Xbox 360. I was going to do it over Christmas. I think we got code in like mid-December or something, just before Christmas break. And reviews were going out in early January for whatever that year was. And again, red ringed, just as I was about to start playing it, had to use the PS3 version. Wasn't happy about that because I hated the PS3. But that's how I reviewed that. But anyway, as you were saying about what broke a console, I thought, right, actually, the real answer here to what broke the Xbox generally is Wii Sports, right? Wii Sports broke the Xbox as a platform, as something that people like, because Xbox in their wisdom were like, what can we do to capitalize on this market of people that like playing Wii Sports? And they made Kinect, right? And Kinect was a big success initially, like it did very well for them, but it completely skewed the way they viewed what the next Xbox was going to be, the Xbox One, as the all-in entertainment device. Packaged it with a Kinect, complete massive disaster. And they're still recovering from that now. Obviously, other things have happened to Xbox along the way that hasn't helped. But so my answer is Wii Sports.
You know what? I can't. Yeah, that's pretty good. You are right as well. It was chasing Nintendo's audience that they had sort of cobbled together from, pensioners and Waynes all sort of playing football in their living room and stuff like that.
The very lucrative pensioners and Wayne's demographic.
They just failed to realise that people that really loved Wii Sports and bought a Wii for Wii Sports only ever played Wii Sports.
Yeah.
That was
most
it.
of them. Yeah.
Like the Wii, I mean, Nintendo consoles generally have terrible attachment rates, don't they? Because people
I don't know if they do
often
now,
will buy
but
them and they'll only
There was certainly like
No, they don't. They have some of the best.
Yeah,
What are you
the Wii
Didn't the
was
Wii had a really bad
maybe
attachment rate?
Well, the Wii was an
Wii
anomaly.
Sports, but the Switch is pretty good, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but
the Switch has an immense.
the Wii was a different. I've been to multiple houses for like families, friends, etc., and they had a Wii, and they only had Wii Sports. That was it.
Yeah.
And it's
A lot of
definitely
households had a Wii, and that's all they had. So it was just a packaged game. Didn't it show up on like the best-selling games list for ages because of that?
Yeah,
and people were like, "That's fucking cheating." Anyway, so I like it, Tom. I do like how you've taken the spirit of the topic and twisted it into a commentary on Xbox as a whole.
That's what you get when you get me on the podcast. You get that high level of thought and a story.
Yeah. It's like, that should be best game that broke your business, not broke your hardware.
Best game that just broke the dominance of... it's incredible because when they were in pole position, which is actually for Xbox quite brief because people forget that the PS3 wasn't the underdog for that entire generation. It actually recovered quite well. And I think by the end of the gen, it had made a lot more money and sold more units. So there was this very brief...
I don't know if they sold more, but yeah.
Yeah, or they at least achieved parity. And Nintendo, obviously, during that period, were just fucking raking it in with the Wii. And so Microsoft enjoyed this very brief window where they were seen as the top dog, and they weren't really. And either side of that brief window, they've just been they've just been on a shit slalom, which is terrible. And I think they're every time it looks like they're starting to claw it back, it's something happens, what's he said now, or acquisition just doesn't really work out or whatever. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I really like that, Tom. That's very good. Sharif, what lies have you concocted for this one?
I have not. I am always truthful. I never lie. I have never committed any crimes. I'm a big Souls-like fan, so I bought a PS4 to play Bloodborne. I genuinely like, if there's one game to me that is a justification enough to buy a system. And for the PS5, that was the remake of Demon Souls, because I love the original Demon Souls. And everything that I had seen from the pre-release marketing to the remake that Blue Point was working on was amazing. Talked myself into buying a PS5, and keep in mind that was the launch, like very near the launch of that, because I remember it was around December that I bought it. It had come out like a month prior, so like within 6 weeks of launch. I was in Egypt at the time, and so by default, all of these sort of, I don't know, they had a term for them, or these sort of like game systems and anything that basically is seen as non-essential had something like a 40% markup in customs. But it wasn't even, but that was officially like that when a distributor officially brings it, which that would have been a year later. But you don't have to wait for those people. People just smuggle it and do all that stuff at the time. So I remember paying something like 60% or 70% markup over the original price. Didn't matter. I was like, I want to play Demon Souls. Got the thing, bought Demon Souls, bought the deluxe edition or whatever it was digitally, downloaded it. Started playing it, and I want to say every 30-ish minutes or 45 minutes, I get a notification that the LAN cable was unplugged. It's like, what the hell? Like the console is sitting, there's nothing, like no movement has been made, and I was like, okay, I go back, check the cable's fine, take it out, reinsert it, all good. An hour later, it happens again. I was like, okay, maybe this cable is funky. I throw away the cable, get a different cable. Like, okay, like it's very tight. Like nothing, no funny business going on here. It's not tangled with any electrical wires. There's no reason this should be happening. And it keeps like, it's like someone is pulling it out and putting it back in. It's like, oh, it's disconnected. Oh, it's back in. It's disconnected. It's back in. It's like, what is this? It drove me mad. I looked it up, and it turns out, first of all, there wasn't a lot of information because the console was really new at the time. But it turns out Demon Souls was one of the games that somehow, which is a launch game, which is funny, somehow would drive that thing so hot that there would be some sort of expansion slightly that happens to that port that it would think that the cable had been removed. So when it cools down, that never happens. But when you're playing the game and the fans are going and the heat is so high, ever so slightly pushes that thing, expands it so that it somehow thinks that the cable has been plugged. And I was like, okay, well, what's the solution to that? Everyone was like, oh, you can return it and they will fix it. I was like, dude, I got this smuggled from a different country. I have no recourse here. Like, what are you talking about? And then some helpful Redditor said, okay, well, at some point it's just going to fix itself. Like, it's going to take a different shape and it's going to fix itself. But what you can do in the meantime, if you don't want to use Wi-Fi, which is, I'm not a filthy casual, I'm not going to use a Wi-Fi, is try to get like an internet cable that's like has a really, really thick, like the little jack thing that you plug into the thing. Like some of them have like, the cheaper ones have like a very thin plastic, but the really expensive ones have like a really it's like they're meant for like workstation and server rack stuff. So get one of those, and it's going to be harder to actually get in, but it's probably going to be enough to make it think that it's not being pulled out every hour.
Hell.
And that's what I did. I never thought about that problem again until you mentioned the whole red ring thing. That's my closest.
What? I'm sure, like back at the start, I can't even remember what game it was, but there was a game where it kept complaining about. It wasn't Demon Souls because I've never played that because I'm not good at games or a Poindexter. It was constantly complaining about the Ethernet getting unplugged, and I eventually just switched over to Wi-Fi and forgot about it.
The funny thing about all of this to me is I never finished that remake. I ended up kind of hating it because so I had like a really, really like a whole plate of eggs on my face at that point, because I was like, I paid all that money to play this game that is caused me all this anxiety about what the hell is going on. Is this thing broken that I just paid a fortune for? What's going on? I didn't even enjoy it because
get rid of it as well. The PS5.
When I moved, but then I got another one. Obviously, but I wasn't gonna carry that across the Red Sea, Jim.
Why did you hate Demon Souls, by the way, the remake?
The
that's
remake,
what
because
got me into them all.
The remake is what got you into it, Ian?
Yeah. I played Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and I bounced off them all the time. I found it a bit too challenging. And then, PS5 came out, Demon Souls, brand new launch title, looks amazing. I'll stick with it. And it clicked for me. So then I went back and played all the others, and now I've platinumed Elden Ring and stuff. But I thought it was great. So I'm just wondering why you didn't like it.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I think the lower on the totem pole for me was a lot of the changes that they made to the art design. It was. I don't think they quite understood the intention of the original art, and they sort of made it. They wanted to ramp up the visual fidelity and everything, and I think they missed a lot of the nuances. Like, I think the best example for this is the Fat official. The sort of government official things that were working behind the scenes, and if you get the Tower Knight, the people that get the gate closed, those people. If you look at that model in the remake compared to the original, the original has a lot. You look at that model and you see how disgusting it is, but it's not disgusting because it has because it looks disgusting. Like, it has a rash and they're fat. It looks disgusting because you can see how corruption has led them to that state, because they're feeding off the people. They're there's a lot of meaning in that, whereas the remake was just we need everything to look better, which it does, but it loses a lot of that. But I think for me, mainly because I more care about the gameplay side, is that there were no changes to the game at all. It's such a faithful remake that I just feel it was completely useless, because I can go play the original Demon Souls. They have basically, From Software has evolved over the years, and they have made changes in some way in response to Demon Souls, and they have corrected what I will think of as mistakes. But this remake is from a different timeline, where it was this is the first time that we're doing Demon Souls. And it's you have ignored over a decade of advancement made by the same developers.
Can I just clarify then, what you're submitting is a shit game that...
I was just thinking that, Jim.
Changed your...
I mean, is it better than Wii Sports? Not Wii Sports. Is it better than Connected Sports, whatever the
Wii Sports is the game. Wii Sports is one of the greatest games ever made. No
Wii
one's
Sports is pretty good, to be fair.
That's pretty much it. I think
Demon
Demon Souls
that you have lost already this podcast, because you did a good bit then. That was a good bit of actual game discussion that you don't normally get on this podcast. So well done for that. Unfortunately, you are losing.
I was hovering over the Higton klaxon though.
All right, okay. No need for the Higton klaxon.
Because you know what the YouTube audience is like. They're out for blood. I still can't get over the person that complained that it took us 6 minutes and 50 seconds on one episode to start the game. And I was like, "What are you here for? It's not a real game,
first podcast."
Yeah, it's nobody gives a shit about the score. What are you on about? Apart from Tom,
I kind of do as well, because I was robbed last time I was on. I haven't forgiven you for that.
Oh, he's already in it, man. He's already I was robbed.
Absolutely robbed last time.
All right. Okay.
Higton,
it's your turn.
I like how you got the little echo fade out there. That's nice. Like I'm running off into the distance shouting bum guffs like a cheeky chappy.
Bum guffs. You get a Doppler effect on it. It's like bum guff, like an ambulance.
Yeah. Jim is a professional. Forget about the facade that he puts up, but he's a very consummate professional.
He is.
You should tell Tom that. It's Tom's
he's in this video call. He knows. He hears.
Tom tells everyone I'm a pain in the ass.
He tells me that all the time, actually, in these private chats. It's called We Hate Jim, and it's just Tom slagging you off all the time. It's crazy.
So I don't even know what he's doing now.
No, just drinking
that's just Fiji 24/7 work too.
Drinking out 2 cups, having a hernia. Right,
Jimmy
okay.
2 cups, they call him.
Right, okay. Higton, what is your best game?
I did have one, but before in the pre-show chat, I was talking about spectrums to Sharie, and it reminded me of something. So a quick one, my ZX Spectrum Plus 3 back in the day, I was playing RoboCop on disc, the original RoboCop with that awesome theme tune that Ariston nicked for an advert. I don't know if you remember the on and
Yeah,
Ariston
yeah.
advert. That had the soundtrack from the ZX Spectrum
Yeah,
Robocop in the background. Anyway, it kept crashing, the Spectrum, as it always did anyway, but it was crashing more and more regularly. And couldn't work out why it kept crashing. And then one day, as I was playing it, loads of little baby spiders started crawling out from between the keys.
Oh
I was like, what the hell? What is this
God.
nightmare? So
Oh
I
my
opened it
God.
up and there was a spider's egg inside it. And they'd hatched due to, I don't know, the heat of the Spectrum being on or something.
That's probably it.
That is the 80s computer boom in the UK in a nutshell. Like to stop the solder from cracking or something. Like, oh,
Probably.
some engineer with no budget was just like, well, I did find that if you put some spiders in it, it stops that problem from occurring. And Sinclair's like, yeah, do you know what? We'll fill it with spiders. Nobody will ever notice.
I think Alex, when he worked at Game, had someone bring in a copy of a used game, whatever, and I think it had cocaine in it or weed or something. And then they came back, and then they were like, "Hey, I want to give that game back." I don't know about Alex who was telling that story, but that's a very famous story. I don't know.
That makes you know what that makes a lot of sense.
And then he came back and I was like, "Can I have that same copy again?" And I was like, "No."
That's not a rare occurrence though, because I collect ZX Spectrum games, or I did, and I bought a Friday the 13th clamshell ZX Spectrum game, and inside there was little bits of weed and tobacco. Someone had used it to skin up with, like, I don't know, 20 years ago or whatever. I was like, what the hell?
Oh man, someone had a good time in 1987.
Yeah.
I had that tracks with like DVD cases and stuff, because I had an old like acquaintance from school who, once I left school, I hadn't seen him for like 5-10 years, and then I was just sitting on the train one day, and there he was, and he was just one of these guys that, like, he was everybody's mate, and he just started chatting to me as if like we knew each other, and it's like we were forced into proximity during our school days. I'm not your mate, like, but okay. And he was like, he was being really sort of, he had this fucking, I remember it because it was like it was like Too Fast, Too Furious, I think, a DVD of that. And he was like almost kind of cradling it. And he was constantly touching it. And it's like, it's such a weird thing to be carrying around and not in a bag or anything. He hasn't recently bought it. It's just from his house, clearly. And he kept going to the toilet with it, and it was only later on I figured out that he was doing coke or something.
Oh, he wasn't
like,
wanking over Vin Diesel.
No, it's like, I mean, I don't know why, because I've never been involved with anything like that. But I don't know what I assumed, but I would have assumed that people. Firstly, cocaine's a fucking expensive habit. I would assume that if you were into it, you'd have some sort of like case. Like, you keep your Nintendo Switch in a case, right? You know, like some sort of leatherette pouch or something, not a fucking just a DVD you've grabbed off the, like, oh yeah, Too Fast, Too Furious, that'll do. That's cocaine the movie. I'll just keep my stuff in that. Yeah, so that tracks. I can imagine people trading their shit into CEX and just forgetting what sort of horrible chemical concoctions they've left in there.
Yeah, okay, so my actual choice is Far Cry Instincts Evolution for the original Xbox, which, honestly, my favorite game on the original Xbox. I loved it. I was amazing at it. And back in the time when it was out, I used to work in a TV studio. I used to work for a shopping TV channel called Gems TV. And we had a crew room where, you know, we'd relax on breaks and stuff. And so I brought my Xbox in, and I had 4 controllers, and I'd challenge people on lunch and before we went on air to, like, 4-player split screen Far Cry. I'd kick everyone's asses all the time. But it just, like, it got battered. People spilt Coca-Cola on it and, like, you know, put grubby fingerprints on all my controllers or whatever. And anyway, one day it just wouldn't turn on. And I was like, no, I love this console. I love this game. Why is it broken? And then I remembered that I actually bought that console from Dixon's. I don't know if Dixon's is even still alive, but when I signed up for it, I bought it on hired purchase, and it had like a 3-year guarantee or something on it. I checked, and I had 1 week left on my guarantee, my 3-year guarantee. So I was like, holy shit. So I phoned up Dixon's and I was like, hey, it's broken. You want to, what do I do? Can I have a replacement? And they were like, yeah, we'll sort you out a replacement. It's still in warranty. And I was like, do you want me to send you the old one back? They were like, nah, it's broken. You can keep it, whatever. So I got this so Far Cry Instinct Evolution, it broke my original Xbox. I got this brand new original Xbox through, and then one day I plugged in the wrong Xbox to play. It was the broken one, and it wasn't broken anymore. So I ended up getting a free Xbox, and I had two Xboxes, and then I had one downstairs, which I put loads of music on, and I'd have at house parties. I put the visualizer on the TV, and then I had my newer one upstairs, which I could game on. So Far Cry Instincts Evolution is my best game that broke my console because it broke it, got me a free one, and then ended up getting me two Xboxes, kind of.
Is it a good game, though? Is it basically the original Far Cry, but
it's kind of the original Far Cry. The original PC Far Cry is different.
Yeah.
It follows the same kind of story, but like they've opened it up a little bit more, and it had the multiplayer element on it. But I honestly, I loved the multiplayer. My favorite thing about it was being able to make maps, the map maker thing, and just like fanning around playing other people's multiplayer maps all the time. I loved it. It kind of felt like a fresh game every time I went on to play it. So
nice.
it got me into Far Cry map making loads. I loved Far Cry map making all through the series until
that's still a thing, isn't it? That they put
it
in
is
there.
until the most recent one. Well, they took it out.
Oh.
The bastards.
I didn't know that. No,
yeah.
Just must have had to claw back that budget to pay your man from Breaking Bad.
Oh, absolutely did, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's a good story.
Bum
So
guffs,
the Higton klaxon once again signals.
I should say it as well, bum guffs. Can people tell which is the real one? Bum guffs. Was that
you
me,
could
or was
just
that
start
the
doing it when you want Tom to stop talking.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Bum guffs.
So, right. So, I've got to pick something now. Oh, fucking hell! I'm loath to do it. Actually, no, I'm not loath to do it because. Tom,
Sharif's game.
Sharif's not going to win.
He says it's a bad game. Ian's didn't even break it, did it?
It broke it for a temporary period.
Sharif's not going to win because Sharif's game he doesn't even like, and it didn't even break the PS5. It just mildly inconvenienced.
And he could have just turned on the Wi-Fi, right?
Temporarily.
Turned the Wi-Fi on, and it'd been.
But that's
fine.
not the issue, though. That's just sidestepping the problem.
It'd have been a perfect solution. Just turn the Wi-Fi on. You never would have thought about it again. It'd been fine.
That's still you still haven't fixed what's broken though. That's
just got like images of Sharif turning up to A&E, and they're like, "Where are you injured?" And he's like, "Well, I've got a hangnail."
I mean, that's the problem though, isn't it? With Sharif's one, it's like, what is it? Is it a fault or a break? Is a break the same as the fault? Because it's more of a fault than a break, but also it's breaking his internet and his enjoyment of the game. So
yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
and it was a self-fixing problem. Although, having said that, Ian, yours was a self-fixing problem.
Yes, but mine got me a £300 console for free. So I think that's great.
That makes it worse. That doesn't make it any better.
What I've done,
Who else got a free console?
What I've done here is specifically asked for
or spiders
stories about.
Oh god!
I've asked for stories about what game were you playing? What is the best game you were playing that bricked a console or damaged hardware or made something not work? And the three of you have turned up with Tom's turned up with fucking this made the share price go down for Microsoft.
No, I picked two games.
Sharif's come in with my PS5 was mildly inconvenienced, and Higton's come in with I thought it was broken, but it wasn't. But I'd already lied by that point, so quid's in.
Well, can I have the spiders one then? Does that help? Does that
was your Spectrum broken after that? like after the spider incident, or did it work after that?
I mean, it still worked, but it didn't crash as frequently once the spiders had come out. But
I
it
thought
didn't brick
I was
it,
really
no.
hoping you were going to say, "Well, I don't know if it still worked, but it definitely didn't work once it incinerated it outside."
Listen, if Ian wins, I'm going to call Dixon's. There's bound to be some entity somewhere still called Dixon's. I'm going to dob him in.
Don't grass me up, Tom.
I think it's Curry's Digital now, and I think they're only in airports.
Okay, that's good.
So
They can't. They don't know where
they're
I live.
not likely to come after Higton.
I live in a different address now.
Yeah.
You know, they won't be able to find me.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
plus-
Bought my Mega Drive and Mega CD from Dixon's.
Yeah.
I mean, they did good hired purchase stuff. It was like a tenner
Yeah.
a month for 15
Do
years
you
or
remember
something.
when you could just like get loads of shit on credit and it was fine?
Remember Radio Rentals?
Yeah, and like before
Yeah.
the 2008 crash, you could just fucking like you just you would start a phone contract and they'd be like, "Do you want a PS3?" And you'd be like, "Yeah." And they'd just give you a fucking. I got a PSP, a PS3, and a telly just from like phone contracts.
Yeah,
that
but
I
you were
needed
paying
to
like
have
60
anyway.
quid a month for a
No,
snake
it's like that
phone,
was like
weren't
on
you?
fucking 20 quid a month contracts. That was on like the fuck all contracts. It was like I kitted out half my fucking house on just through having a phone.
You had 8 phones. Just
You don't
to
get
all the
that
stuff.
anymore. You don't get that anymore.
That's because
You-
people like you took advantage of it.
yeah, caused the 2008 crash. Me with a PSP. Dog shit console. Anyway, right. So what was I going to say? Right. It's very difficult to pick a winner when Tom hasn't really done it properly. He's just been clever. And oh fucking hell! I tell you what, if you go with the spiders, I'll give you the spiders because that's horrific.
Okay, I'm going with spiders.
All right.
This
Okay.
game's gone.
All right. Okay.
It didn't go. What the?
All right. And what game was that
I think that's
again?
a sign.
I don't remember. I was talking about RoboCop 3. Yeah, that was it. RoboCop 3.
RoboCop, yeah,
On
RoboCop
the
3.
ZX Spectrum.
The game
RoboCop
was
3 on the ZX
RoboCop
Spectrum.
3.
Classic
No, sorry.
game. Classic
just
sound-
RoboCop 1. Sorry, I don't.
RoboCop. Classic
RoboCop
soundtrack.
3 is a very rare ZX Spectrum
Ariston
game.
goes on and on
Yeah,
and on
that's the
and
one.
on all that stuff. And I love the RoboCop soundtrack anyway because the original the original RoboCop theme was composed by the same guy who did the theme for Star Trek 4. It's the same theme. The guy
Okay.
just fucking double dipped, and he clearly did RoboCop, or he clearly did Star Trek 4, and then the RoboCop guys were like, "Do you want to do the RoboCop theme?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And then he's like, "Oh man,
Well,
I can't compose anymore. I don't know what's happened." But these guys definitely haven't seen Star Trek 4, so I'll just do that.
well, the RoboCop on the ZX Spectrum, completely different composition. It was
Yeah.
nothing to do with the
Definitely
movie
not that
soundtrack.
guy, but
No.
yeah. But either way, I think Higton's got it because I think the image of a bunch of spiders pouring out of an 80s 8-bit computer is
That's literally what it was as well. They just all started pouring out from between the keys.
that's
The O and the P keys particularly had the highest concentration of baby spiders.
that's just horrific, and it's just something that if you'd put that in like a horror film or something, like it would seem far fetched, but it actually happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm prepared to accept that. RoboCop, whatever, on the ZX Spectrum is the best game that broke a piece of hardware. But apparently that piece of hardware still works. But we're not going to get into that. Sharif, you just should have lied like you told me you were going to. Sharif was like, "I'll just tell a lie," and I was like, "Okay."
It's not my fault that none of my consoles broke because of a game, Jim.
Yeah, I imagine you look after them too well as well.
I think the secret is that I never really used them that much.
I mean, I can imagine young Higton, just the state of that Spectrum was probably something to behold anyway.
Yeah. Covered in snacks.
Just snacks, tobacco.
I was too young for tobacco in those days.
I
waited until I was 12 for that.
Yeah, I was going to say in the 80s, what a young smoker in the 80s was like 4.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay, let's call it there. Tom, if people want to listen to the extended version of this podcast, what should they do? Where should they go?
They can support us by going on VG247.com, clicking on support us button, the top right. In mobile, you might have to expand the menu bit, and it's £3 a month or $30 a year. You get the extended podcast every week if you make the podcast every week.
Yeah.
Usually you manage it, don't you?
Yeah, usually I manage it, yeah. And you get ad-free access to VG247, but guilt-free. Because, if you use an ad blocker, that's effectively theft. Still haven't had any complaints about that. I'm waiting for them. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening. Please, if you enjoyed the show, do leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. It really helps us out. I mean, if only because Tom likes reading them every now and then, and every time he sees a new one pop
for
up,
ages.
there hasn't been a new one for a while, but every time there is a new one, Tom actually gets quite excited, and it's very rare. So if you haven't paid for the podcast, this is where we're going to leave you. But if you have paid for the podcast, this is what you're paying for. My memories of red rings are... I can't even say that with a... God.